The year is 1879. The unforgiving sun beat down on Red River Valley, a patch of land as hard as the lives of those who tried to tame it. Dust, fine and relentless, coated everything, a constant reminder of the scarcity of life. Martha Blackwood, a woman of 30, moved with a quiet strength that belied her slender frame. Her days were a solitary rhythm of tending a small vegetable patch and caring for her only son, Ethan, a bright-eyed boy of 7. Thomas, her husband, had succumbed to a sudden illness 2 winters past, leaving Martha to face the harsh realities of the frontier alone. Her love for Ethan was the unwavering sun in her desolate sky, the purpose that drove her every dawn. Their small cabin, built from rough-hewn logs, was a beacon of fragile hope in the vast wilderness. One sweltering afternoon, as Ethan played near the creek, his laughter, a rare and precious sound, suddenly ceased. A chilling silence descended, quickly followed by the thunder of hooves. A notorious band of outlaws, the Viper Gang, led by the feared Caleb the Viper, Thorne, descended upon their isolated homestead. Thorne, a man with cold, calculating eyes and a reputation for brutality, was known for his swift, violent raids. Martha, clutching her rusty old rifle, rushed out, her heart a drum against her ribs. She saw Ethan, frozen in terror, as one of the vipers scooped him onto his saddle. "Leave him!" Martha screamed, her voice raw with anguish. Thorne, a cruel smirk on his face, merely laughed. "A boy like that? He'll make a fine camp hand. Unless you got something better to offer, widow." He gestured to her meager possessions, a clear threat. In a flash of desperate courage, Martha raised her rifle. But before she could fire, a heavy blow from behind sent her sprawling, her vision blurring. She watched, helpless, as the gang, with Ethan's terrified face receding into the distance, galloped away, their laughter echoing like a death knell across the valley. The dust settled, leaving Martha alone, bruised and broken, her world shattered. The silence that followed was heavy with despair, the sun setting on what felt like the end of everything. The immediate aftermath was a blur of searing pain and crushing grief. Martha lay in the dust, the image of Ethan's receding face burned into her mind. The silence of the cabin, once comforting, was now an unbearable void, amplifying the emptiness in her arms. The first few hours were a descent into raw despair, a battle against the urge to simply give up. But then, a cold, hard ember ignited deep within her. It wasn't hope, not yet. It was fury, a mother's fury, fierce and unyielding. She would not let them have her son. Ignoring her throbbing head and aching body, Martha stumbled to her feet. Her first thought was horses. The vipers had taken all of theirs, leaving her stranded. She knew the gang's notorious hideout was rumored to be deep in the Serpent's Coil Mountains, a treacherous range known for its hidden canyons and jagged peaks. It was days, maybe weeks, of hard riding away, a journey no lone woman would dare. But Martha wasn't just any woman. She was a mother, desperate and driven, her immediate obstacle, no horse. Her own had been stolen. She remembered an old, half-wild mustang, rumored to roam the distant Black Creek pastures, a beast notoriously difficult to capture, but legendary for its endurance. With grim determination, she gathered what little food and water she had, strapped her rifle to her back, and set off on foot, the relentless sun a scorching reminder of the ticking clock. She walked for 2 days and a night, driven by adrenaline and the image of Ethan's face. When she finally reached Black Creek, the mustang was there, grazing defiantly. It took another day of cunning and raw will, using old cowboy tricks her husband had taught her, to finally corner and break the magnificent beast. The act was a physical and mental battle, leaving her bruised and exhausted, but with a powerful, wild ally under her command. As she swung herself onto its back, the feeling of purpose surged through her veins. This wasn't just about survival. It was about retrieval. She knew the odds were impossible, but the thought of Ethan was a shield against all fear. Days bled into a relentless, grueling journey through the treacherous Serpent's Coil Mountains. Martha, guided by sparse whispers and her own desperate instincts, pushed the Mustang relentlessly. The terrain was brutal. Steep, rocky inclines gave way to narrow, shadowed canyons where the air hung heavy and still. Rattlesnakes coiled in. The dry dust and the nights were freezing, forcing her to huddle for warmth, her body aching, her eyes scanning the inky blackness for any sign of trouble. The fear for Ethan gnawed at her, but she channeled it into pure, unadulterated focus. She rationed her meager supplies, a constant battle against hunger and thirst. She relied on every lesson Thomas had ever taught her: how to read animal tracks, how to find hidden water sources, how to move silently through the unforgiving landscape. Her shotgun, kept meticulously clean, was her only comfort. Along the way, she encountered fleeting, dangerous interactions. A lone prospector, wary and suspicious, whom she carefully avoided. A band of territorial Native American scouts, whom she observed from a distance, understanding the unspoken rules of their lands and passing without incident. These encounters reinforced the profound isolation and danger of her quest, but also strengthened her self-reliance. After nearly a week of relentless pursuit, Martha finally found their trail. A distinctive brand on a stray horse, a tattered piece of cloth snagged on a thorny bush, small clues that, to her honed senses, screamed vipers. The trail led her deeper into a labyrinthine canyon system, its walls echoing with the distant sounds of men and horses. She saw their campfire smoke, their crude fortifications, and the distinctive horses tethered nearby, the very horses they had stolen from her and her neighbors. The sight ignited a fresh spark of cold fury. She dismounted, tying her Mustang to a camouflaged bush, and began to move on foot, a ghost in the shadows, her rifle held ready. The thought of Ethan, close now, yet still out of reach, sharpened her every sense. She was no longer just a mother, she was a predator, closing in on her prey. The Viper Gang's hideout was a crude but effective fortress nestled deep within a narrow, winding canyon. Crude watchtowers guarded the entrance, and the air hummed with the rough, boisterous sounds of hardened men. Martha, concealed in the dense shadows, observed their routine for hours, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and calculated resolve. She noted the changing of the guard, the location of their supplies, and most crucially, the precise spot where their horses were corralled, the fastest, strongest ones. She saw Ethan, a small figure near a sputtering campfire, looking thin and dejected, guarded by a grizzled outlaw. The sight of him, alive but clearly suffering, fueled her icy determination. Her plan was audacious, relying on stealth, misdirection, and the element of surprise. She would strike just before dawn, when the guards were at their weakest and exhaustion had set in. First, she meticulously incapacitated the sentries using silent, quick movements and a blunt object, avoiding gunfire, that would alert the camp. Her movements were precise, born of desperate necessity. Next, she found a way to create a diversion. Recalling Thomas's lessons on frontier tricks, she located their grain stores and ignited a small, controlled fire near them. Knowing the crackling flames and the smell of burning feed would draw most of the gang's attention away from the horses. As the bandits rushed to contain the spreading fire, confusion and shouts erupting in the camp, Martha moved like a shadow towards the horse corral. She cut the ropes, whispering commands to the powerful beasts, expertly choosing the fastest horses, including her own, which whinnied recognition. She quickly saddled her Mustang and one other swift horse for Ethan. The remaining horses, freed, bolted into the open canyon, creating further chaos. Just as she was about to grab Ethan, Caleb, The viper Thorn, alerted by the commotion, appeared, his eyes narrowed, a shotgun held ready. "You!" he roared, a look of shocked recognition and fury on his face. He knew he'd underestimated this woman. The confrontation was immediate and brutal. Thorn, a man of pure malice, lunged at her, his raw strength fueled by rage. Martha, though, smaller, moved with the speed of desperation, using her shotgun not to shoot, but as a blunt weapon, a desperate swing connecting with his arm, momentarily disarming him. As he staggered, she swept Ethan onto the saddle of the second horse, her heart bursting with relief and urgency. "Hold on, son!" she cried, swinging herself onto her own mustang. The vipers, now recovering from the confusion, were close behind, their shouts echoing through the canyon. It was a race against time, a desperate dash for freedom. The escape was a heart-stopping blur of pounding hooves and desperate pursuit, a symphony of terror and determination echoing through the labyrinthine canyons. Martha, her body screaming, with exhaustion, rode with a singular burning focus. Ethan, small and trembling, was clutched tightly before her on the back of the powerful mustang, his face buried against her, his fragile trust an anchor in the maelstrom. The Viper gang, enraged and relentless, thundered behind them, their shouts a primal roar carried on the wind. The air, thick with dust kicked up by a dozen hooves, vibrated with the intermittent crack of rifle fire. Bullets whizzed by, close enough to make Martha flinch, but never striking true. Martha, guided by a lifetime of knowing this harsh land and every lesson Thomas had ever taught her, pushed her mustang to its absolute limits. She threaded them through passages so narrow the horses had to turn sideways, over treacherous rocky ledges where a single misstep would mean plummeting to their deaths, and into hidden crevices that offered brief, desperate moments of concealment. Each turn was a gamble, each leap of faith a prayer. Her shotgun, now almost empty of shells, was used sparingly, a roar of intimidation to create distance or deter a too close pursuer. There were moments of sheer, paralyzing terror. A horse stumbling on loose rock, a bullet tearing through the brim of her hat, the agonizing fear that Ethan might slip from her grasp. But the image of his innocent face, the warmth of his small body against hers, propelled her forward, an almost superhuman strength coursing through her veins. He was her reason, her entire world. As dawn broke, painting the vast frontier sky in fiery hues of orange and gold, a sight familiar and profoundly hopeful materialized on the distant horizon, the humble yet towering spire of the Willow Creek Church. It was a beacon of civilization, a promise of safety. A raw sob caught in Martha's throat as she pushed the horses to their absolute breaking point, their flanks heaving, muscles burning. The thought of home, of safety, of a new life free from fear burned bright within her. Behind them, the Viper gang, now scattered and demoralized, finally faltered. Their pursuit weakened, their shouts dying into frustrated curses as they realized the futility of chasing a mother driven by such an unyielding, almost mythical force. They watched, defeated, as Martha and Ethan, two tiny, silhouetted figures against the vast, empty plains, rode towards the rising sun, leaving the shadows of their nightmare behind. Their arrival in Willow Creek was met with a stunned, disbelieving silence, quickly followed by a wave of joyous, overwhelming emotion. The townspeople, who had given up the mother and son for lost, rushed forward, tears streaming down their faces. Ethan, shaken but miraculously unharmed, was pulled safely into the embrace of the community that had mourned his absence. Martha, dismounting with trembling legs, was a sight of utter exhaustion but undeniable triumph. She had not only rescued her son, but had effectively crippled the notorious Viper gang, bringing back not just her own horses, but several others stolen from the community. Her act of defiance, her sheer bravery, resonated deeply, shattering the long-held belief that Women were helpless in the face of frontier violence. The legacy of Martha Blackwood, the quiet widow, became a living legend. She was no longer just a bereaved woman. She was the widow's ride, a symbol of unbreakable will, a testament to the fierce protective power of a mother's love. She chose to stay in Red River Valley, her spirit hardened by the ordeal, but also softened by the outpouring of community support. With the Viper Gang dispersed, the entire region experienced a new, profound sense of peace and security. Martha, with her quiet strength and newfound, almost revered respect, stepped into an unexpected role. She helped establish a local vigilance committee, sharing her hard-won knowledge of defense and strategy. She taught others how to secure their homes, how to read the land for signs of trouble, and most importantly, how to stand together as a united front against any future threats. Her farm, though rebuilt slowly, became a symbol of resilience and hope, and her son Ethan grew up knowing his mother was a true hero of the frontier, a woman who proved that even against overwhelming odds, a mother's love could move mountains and steal back horses to protect her own. Her story became a cornerstone of the frontier, a reminder that the greatest strength often lies in the most unexpected places.